Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Thursday, February 10th, 2011. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. It's 6:30 p.m. in Cairo, 4:30 p.m. in London, and in Mexico City, 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. We'll go right to the breaking news, actually. Reuters, the BBC, NBC, and just about everybody is reporting right now that Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is going to resign tonight. It's 6:30 p.m. in Cairo right now. There are hundreds of thousands of people in Tahrir Square. We have a story on Egypt that we'll get to a little bit later in the broadcast. But apparently Mubarak is out. He's leaving. We'll try to monitor this during the broadcast and update you as we go along. Meanwhile, today's birthday, Mark Spitz, who won 7 gold medals swimming in the Munich 1972 Olympics for the U.S. That was the Olympics marred by the hostage-taking of the Israeli Olympic team and the subsequent murder of them, is 61 years old today. We'll go to our main news. In Cork, Ireland, today 6 people died in a plane crash. The plane crashed on the runway. It was a turbojet. It was traveling from Belfast, landed in the fog at Cork Airport. Apparently it had made 2 previous attempts at landing. On the third attempt it crashed. It was heavy fog on the scene. Crashed at 9:51 a.m. The flight was operated by the Isle of Man-based company Manx 2. According to some press reports, the Irish politician, the Northern Irish politician Martin McGuinness, had been scheduled to be on the airplane, but he did not take it at the last moment. Not too far from us in Allentown, Pennsylvania, about 60 miles away, a natural gas explosion leveled 2 houses, spawned fires that burned for more than 8 hours and caused the evacuation of about 600 people. At least 6 people are still missing this morning. The event began at about 10:45 p.m. last night when a row house in a downtown residential neighborhood blew up. The cause of the explosion is unknown. The fire consumed an entire row of homes. About 600 people in total were evacuated. The blast was so powerful that it sent a flat-screen computer monitor sailing into the back of Antonio Arroyo, whose house was on the opposite end of the row from the house that exploded. He said, quote, "I thought we were under attack," and with good reason. Look at this map. This is a map of the gas lines in the United States. I fail to understand how these don't happen more often, but as we know, there was a tragedy south of San Francisco not very long ago, and here we have another one. We'll see what the cause of this was. Now back to Egypt. The situation in Tahrir Square right now is as follows. There are several 100,000 people in the square. The movement is now composed of lawyers, doctors, school teachers, union workers. Now we're having it right here. The Egyptian Armed Forces announced just now that they had begun to take necessary measures to protect the nation and support the legitimate demands of the people. All right, so the military, which is the most powerful institution of all Egypt, has now finally intervened. It was expected and hoped for by the organizers of the demonstrations that tomorrow, after the Friday prayers in the mosques, that some 10 million protesters were going to take to the streets to Cairo. They may take to the streets tomorrow, but it might be a day of celebration rather than protest. Our next story has to do with the situation with China and hacking into Western oil companies. This is coming from a very dependable source. It's coming from the McAfee company, which is well known for making antivirus software. They say that hackers operating from China stole sensitive information about Western oil companies. McAfee said in a report indicating pervasive internet crime traced to China. The report did not identify the companies that had been hacked, but said that coordinated, covert, and targeted attacks had begun in November of '09 and targeted computers of oil and gas companies in the United States, Taiwan, Greece, and Kazakhstan. It said that the attacker stole information on operations, bidding for oil fields, and financing. Consultants say that the high level of skill of earlier attacks and this attack suggests that China's military or another government agency might be stealing technology and trade secrets to help state companies. McAfee, based in Santa Clara, California, said that the hackers worked through servers in the United States and the Netherlands and used techniques including taking advantage of vulnerabilities in the Microsoft Windows operating system. McAfee said that it identified an individual in the eastern Chinese city of Hezhe in Shandong province who provided servers that hosted an application that controlled computers at the victim companies. The report did not identify the person and said he was not believed to be the scheme's mastermind. McAfee said that the hacking, or the extraction of information, occurred between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Beijing time on weekdays. It said that that information suggested that the hackers were company men on a regular job rather than freelance or amateur hackers. The stock market in New York is down a little bit. It's fluctuating. This is obviously a news day of some importance. It's down about 28 points right now. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. Yes, it's confirmed now in Egypt. The military, the Egyptian army, is announcing that they have taken measures to ensure the protection of the people and the legitimacy of their demands, and that the president is going to be resigning tonight. So, big news indeed. In the United Kingdom, the broker Aon is warning that British businesses are dangerously exposed to the possibility of heavy fines under the latest UK and EU legislation regarding environmental liability. Aon issued a bulletin saying that in order to help UK firms establish the level of risk they face, or may face, Aon has teamed up with Argyle Environmental to help out. Aon addressed the impact of, quote, relatively new EU legislation, which has been implemented into UK laws and regulations. Aon noted that many businesses in England are typically unaware that firms can be held financially liable for damage to the environment caused by activities on their property, even if the damage occurred due to the activities of former owners. I don't see how they could be unaware of the first part of that. Perhaps the last part about former owners might be something that's new to them. Aon continued, it said that this means that nearly every property owner in Britain now needs to be aware of the environmental history of their property, as well as the consequences of current operations. Aon concluded saying UK businesses are potentially sleepwalking into a real crisis if they continue to ignore the very real threat and environmental risks posed to their balance sheets. It said that UK and EU legislation is increasingly blaming damage to the environment, putting it at the feet of landowners. So it's vital that they're aware of the history and the issues involving their property. Lloyd's insurer Catlin, the biggest syndicate, has made a profit before tax for 2010 of $406 million. That's down 30% from the $603 million US it made in 2009. Catlin's combined ratio slipped a little bit. It went from 89.1 to 89.8. Catlin attributed the reduction in part because of poor investment returns because of low interest rates, and guess what? Catastrophe losses suffered during the year. The insurer's total investment return was $212 million compared to $419 million in 2009. And the combination of the Chilean and New Zealand quakes and the December floods in Australia resulted in cat losses of $218 million compared with zero in 2009. All in all, they did pretty darn well. Everest Re Group has posted a decline in 2010 earnings, largely due to cat losses. Income fell 24% to $611 million U.S. Everest had swung to a $109 million underwriting loss from a year earlier gain of $425 million. Its combined ratio jumped from 89.1% to 102.8%. The cat losses were tied to the Chilean quake, European windstorm Xynthia, and storms in the U.S. and Australia. Willis is in the news. They have ended their pay freeze. It's going to cost the company about $100 million in salaries and benefits. Willis is going to fund the ending of the pay freeze by a global review of its operations in the first quarter of this year. They expect that the review is going to result in annualized savings of around $90 million to $100 million by 2012. This comes as Willis made a net profit of $455 million for 2010. That's a 4% jump from the $438 million it made in 2009. Commissions and fees were up 3% to $3.3 billion from just a shade over $3.2 billion. Investment income and other income dipped from $3.3 billion down to $3.2 billion because of interest rates. Organic growth in commissions and fees was up 4% in 2010. To fund the higher salaries and the investments that they're making in the employees, the broker will undertake a review of all businesses to better align its resources with its growth strategies. Willis expects that the review is going to cause pre-tax charges of between $110 million and $130 million, which will be recorded in the first quarter. I don't know why they just didn't take it off that $435 million in net profit. The American economy got a little bit of a boost, even though the stock market is only up down 18 points right now. New applications for regular state unemployment insurance benefits fell 36,000. It's now down to 383,000 for the week ending February 5th. This is the lowest level since July of 2008. Economists had been expecting an initial claims level of 410, so it beat that by about 30,000 or so. Well, it snowed in Beijing this morning, which would not normally be big news, wouldn't be any news, except they haven't had any precipitation since the 26th of October. And it's not just Beijing, it's 6 provinces in the northeastern part of the country in which Beijing rests. They're all in the grip of a drought. And this area is the heart of the Chinese wheat growing region. China is the world's largest wheat producer, and they get about 18% of their production in the winter from this region. Winter wheat is sown in mid-September and it's harvested in the spring. The seeds rest underground, relatively insulated during the winter by a coating of snow. There's been absolutely no snow this year, so the soil moisture levels have been affected. This is leading to a concern that this lack of water or precipitation covering the ground might cause difficulty in production levels when they harvest the wheat in the spring. The Chinese government claims that the snowfall today was thanks to its manipulation of the weather. That's true. It's reporting to have fired silver iodide particles into the skies, which act as nuclei, allowing raindrops to form. This is a technique known as cloud seeding. Just to be sure, the government is going to spend another $1 billion to try to alleviate the drought by diverting waterways and building emergency wells. If the Chinese crops fail, this would undoubtedly affect wheat prices throughout the world, not to mention what it would do to the population in China itself, who's already seeing rampant increases of raw food and commodity item prices. Well, we always like stories like this. Let's look at this picture. When you go to Lloyd's, you frequently see people, usually Americans, as in this case the Mississippians, standing in front of one of the beefeater people who guard the front door to Lloyd's. Well, This group is the board of the Mississippi Wind Pool. Yes, they go here every year to meet with the Lloyd's syndicates. Presumably they also use reinsurance brokers who handle this business for them, but they want to go meet them face to face. They've come back with a report that as a result of their meeting, their reinsurance rates for this year probably will not lead to a higher price tag. They went to meet with the syndicates to try to engage them in a discussion that will keep down reinsurance rates, thus keep down premium rates for the people that they insure. Board members travel to London and to Bermuda each year to develop close relationship with the syndicates and answer specific questions about the Mississippi coast's building codes, the general economy, and progress since Hurricane Katrina, among other topics. More on that later. They're going to go to Bermuda later this month. The Mississippi Windstorm Underwriting Association is the insurer of last resort for coastal residents who can't get coverage. Cost of reinsurance is a big part of the policy. The association insures about 46,000 coastal residents with about $7 billion in coverage. In 2010, they purchased $750 million in reinsurance for about $69 million. That's a big check that they write. They expect to purchase about the same this year. One of the members on the trip said, "We met with 25 different syndicates. Based on all the conversations we had in which we got to know them and they got to know us, I anticipate that we should be in a better position than the previous 2 years." What did the syndicates learn about Mississippi that they couldn't have learned on Google? Well, according to one of the participants, one of the Mississippians, reinsurers were very impressed with the fact that we have a stable political climate. Well, that's probably something they didn't know. They could have thought they were dealing with Egypt. They were also impressed with their local economy, which is improving compared to the rest of the company. And they were also pleased to know that we were enforcing our building codes. Well, I'd like to see how much that trip cost. But then again, I don't have a dog in this fight. But if I was a policyholder on the coast of Mississippi as part of one of that group, I'd want to see how much that trip cost every year. London and Bermuda, 4 or 5 people. That's the news we have for today. Big day today. Hosni Mubarak steps down. He's been in power since Anwar Sadat was assassinated back in 1981. It's been a long time. Now change is the next step. We'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow.